also, the recording is in progress. I was going to say we're recording, and if you object to that, please just keep your cameras off. But if you press continue on that button that just popped up on your screen, that is you giving us consent to record this session. I want to direct your also attention to Kenny, he, him, listed as tech support. You can direct message either Kenny or I during the presentation if you're having any issues with anything, and we will be here to help you because our fantastic youth facilitators will mostly be doing the show. So without further ado, I want to introduce Xandra, she, her pronouns, and Flavio, he, him pronouns, who are coming to us from Arts Corps in Seattle, Washington, who are going to do our fantastic facilitation today. So Xandra, I'm gonna throw it to you. Xandra, all you. I'm bringing up your slides right now.
Okay. Well, hi everyone. I'm Xandra, she, her. I'm a 10th grade storyteller and artist near Seattle, and I spend most of my time working on film. A little bit more about me. I love digital art. Here's a self-portrait I did, a doodle, and my first short film, Gift a Piece of Mine. I also love photography. It's really nice to see you all here today. Next slide. Okay, quick. Name 5 Asian women that are directors. Put it in the chat without looking it up. No Google. Okay, I'll be completely honest. I'm an Asian American girl that strives to be a director, but I can't even name 5 Asian women that are directors. Next slide. So let me introduce you to one. Meet Alice Wu, an Asian American LGBTQ+ director that created The Half of It. Most people I run into haven't heard of this film, but it is one I definitely recommend. Next slide. The Half of It, a story with a lesbian lead, Ellie Chu, who happens to fall in love with a girl at her high school, but befriends a boy who also likes the same girl, but he doesn't know. Instead, she helps him get with that girl. And man, I feel bad for Ellie Chu. Next slide. Speaking of high schoolers, back when I was a freshman, I put myself through so many medical classes and clubs and told people that I wanted to be a nurse because I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. I viewed myself in this very stereotypical way, like become a doctor, impress the family, but I was pretty much miserable like that. Next slide. It never really occurred to me that film was a career that I could go for. I barely saw any Asian Americans as directors growing up. Often were portrayed as mathematicians or doctors or nurses, and math makes my head hurt. But I felt pressured to stay stuck in this box of careers. Then I saw Alice Wu being a queer Asian American director with her film on Netflix, one of the biggest streaming platforms for films and shows. And I thought, maybe, just maybe, I can do that too. Next slide. Now, a little activity Please take out a pen and paper, just anything to write with, and write on. I'll give you a couple seconds. Just let me know when you're ready. Just give me a quick like, I'm ready in the chat. Okay, ready? You have 30 seconds to write a story. Ready, set, go. The time is ticking. 20 seconds left. Write any story. The time is up. Next slide. I'd like for you to rip up your paper, get it into little pieces. Just completely rip up the story that you just wrote. Now, I want to ask you this question. What if this 30 seconds was 30 years and I just made you rip up 30 years worth of work, a 30-year story? If I were you, I'd be mad. I'd be so upset at myself. Like, how could I take away that much time from you? How could I take away your own story? Next slide. The media has a way of erasing people's stories, specifically talking about the film industry, like TV shows, movies. There's still a wide lack of diversity in the industry. Next slide. For my Netflix watchers, you might have heard of this show. It's called Kim's Convenience, and this is one of the shows that I'll be introducing to you today. Kim's Convenience stars an Asian Canadian family that runs a little convenience store. And I can actually personally connect to this story because when I was little, my family owned a convenience store near the Seattle area where I live. The next slide. This show is called I Am Not Okay With This, a show starring a closeted lesbian who also happens to discover that she has superpowers. That's a lot of weight to carry for a teenager. Next slide. For the third show, Grand Army, a group of high schoolers, mainly people of color, and it talks about their struggle with money, insecurity, racism, sexism, and a bunch of important issues. And it really highlights their different lives and conflicts. Next slide. The last show, Everything Sucks, starring a closeted lesbian who helps her friend create a film. She has to deal with bullying and living in the 1990s where homophobia is pretty normalized. Next slide. These shows have something in common, and it can be pretty much anything, but I'd like to see your guess in the chat, so just give it your go. Throw out an idea. What do you think they have in common? I see a message. They are teen protagonists. That's a good guess. Youth stars. It's not a good guess. Next slide. And causes experience these stories in queerness. It's true. Next slide. All of these shows have been canceled. And what's the trend in them? You guys pointed a couple out. They're either LGBTQ plus or person of color leads. It feels like you're ripping apart a 30-year story, page by page. They're taking it away, yet they're still keeping shows made about straight white people and the same overused storylines, like a broken record. How could they do this? How could they take away meaningful stories and representation? All of my favorite shows have been canceled, and it's not fair. Next slide. It's important that we all get a chance to tell our own stories. In my life, I want to uplift underrepresented voices. Next slide. We'll have another activity. Please take out a paper and pencil, a new one. Another option, if you have like extra art supplies, if you like to color, and if you have a drawing tablet, that'd be cool too. So give me a thumbs up or like a reaction when you're ready. Just say something in the chat like, ready for this next activity? Okay, great. Next slide. Brainstorm, getting all the ideas out of your head. There's no bad idea when it comes to brainstorm, like trust me. So what is a story that you want to tell? I have provided some prompt ideas, but it's your story and it's your choice. You have 1 minute to brainstorm. Okay, that was about a minute. Don't worry if you didn't get all of your ideas down. It's good to just get a general idea of where you want to go. Next slide. From those ideas, let's make a title, because titles tell and engage. Without a title, it might be hard to get a grasp at what your story is about. So let's create one. Take some time to think and write it across the paper. Like I like to write my title a bit big so that it stands out. Here's an example. My title for this activity is Our Reality. You have 1 minute to just think of something catchy if you can. Okay, now that it's been about a minute, you came up with your title. Next slide. Creating a character can be hard. So here's some guiding questions to start. And I'll give you a little bit more time because drawing a character and like planning them out is a whole chunk of time that you'll need. So who is your character? How do they dress? What is their name? What do they sound like? What do they look like? And why are you creating this character? Just think of anything, really. You can go anywhere. who you want them to be. And I'll give you about like 4 to 6 minutes to draw them out. Okay, try to finish up your character just about now. And you can move on to the next slide. Now, backgrounds are pretty important. I think that details are important, even the little ones. So for my background, I went with like a really simple approach and I drew some not very colorful flowers and grass and some ideas. If you're like stuck on your background, you can draw some things that your character likes or draw something that your story brainstorm relates to. I'll give you like a quick minute to just doodle some things in the background. Okay, next slide. Now, if you're still finishing up doodling your background, That's totally okay. It's a good time to think about like a short description for your story. Like, keep it simple and quick. Here's an example for mine. Our reality is about a struggle of identity and feeling forced to act like the model minority stereotype. I'll give you a minute to just wrap up your description and, start your description and wrap up your background. Okay, next slide. Here's your final time to wrap up your project. Just a quick minute, in case you have any questions, if you want me to talk about my project more as an example so that you can have a couple ideas. But this is just a good time to finish your character, finish your background, finish your description. Okay, next slide. Here is my cover art. Our Reality is a short film by me. This is actual cover art I made for my recent film. I just released it yesterday on the 22nd, and I can give a link for that at the end. But cover art can be used for many things like music, films, or even just a poster to stick on your wall. And it's like a way to tell a story at just a glance. And that's what I love about it. Next slide. Now starting to finish off, I made a doodle for the half of it, the film that I talked about at the beginning, around July of last year. And the director ended up seeing it and she messaged me that she loved it. So I told her that her work inspires me to make a film of my own someday. And now that I'm here, it feels like it was more of a promise than just hope because I did it. I made a film. I made 3 films actually, and I'm really happy that she replied. Next slide. Let you in on a little secret that isn't a secret anymore because my biggest dream has been to work on a set with a community because all of my films have been self-directed because of the pandemic. I haven't been able to work with anyone else. Next slide. And it's happening. Hetero is a queer production made by queer cast and crew, which is rare to see because most LGBTQ plus films are made by straight people that inaccurately portray the community. We just reached 80% of our budget, so if you want to help us cross that finish line to 100% of our budget, on the next slide, I'll have my link tree and I'll drop the link tree in the chat for everyone. But the first link in the link tree is to the fundraiser for our production. It's a really cool production, and if you want to check it out, it even provides like the trailer and stuff. And the rest of the links are just more of my personal projects, like my recent short film that I talked about. And I'd appreciate it a lot if you guys checked it out because these projects are really meaningful for me, and I've like collected them over the past couple of months. So it kind of feels like a photo album in a way. And the next slide, I just want to say like a huge thank you because I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be able to speak in front of all of you. And if you'd like to reflect and share the art that you made today, I'll have a Google form in the chat. And next up to present is Fabio.
Hey Xander, thank you for the my name is Flavio, and oh wait, slides please.
Flavio, oh, okay, sorry, hold on, I gotta spotlight you.
Dang, it's weird. Yeah. As stated, my name is Flavio Cruz Hernandez, and this is my presentation on control and procrastination. Next slide, please. I'm 16 and I attended Shortcrest High School. I have attended Ollie in the past, and this is some of my work. Next slide, please. Today's agenda, we'll be talking about control and procrastination. And if anyone wants to follow along the slides, then go ahead and grab the link from the chat. It's going to be appearing pretty soon. For the entry task, I'd like to know what your top goals are right now. It can be long-term or short-term. My top goal right now is to maintain an uninterrupted productive schedule for a full week. Oh, wait, let's see the responses. Am I heard?
Want me to launch the poll, Flavio? Is that what you did?
Oh, no, the link for the slides, if anyone wanted to follow through.
Yeah, you can put it in the chat. I'm sorry, I can't, there's Kenny's got it. I can't share a screen and do links,
Okay,
but Kenny's got you.
Okay, well, next slide then. Why am I interested in this? Throughout online learning, I had the hardest time doing productive things. To the last quarter of the year, I was barely passing with assignments that would be done in a rush and through stress. For a while, I thought that the reason I was like this was because I wasn't smart or disciplined enough. I had this unhealthy habit of spending the whole day with my computer open, but no work done. I wasted my year this way. And at first, when I was asked of this, I blamed the school for this, saying that the teachers made the work too hard or they made it impossible to do. Of course, I knew this was a lie, but I didn't have a good answer for myself. I wondered why I was like this. Was it because of my ADHD? Was it because of my lack of sleep? Or was it because of my mentality? Or something else? I searched for answers, and what I will be showing you guys are some of the answers I found. Next slide, please. Before we get into it, let's explore some definitions. The definition for procrastination is the action or of delaying or postponing something. The definition of control is the power to restrain something, especially one's own emotions or actions. The definition of motivation is the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. The definition for interlude is an intervening period of time. And the two terms at the end are some words I'm going to be throwing around here and there. The feeling brain. It's the part of you that's associated with feelings, wants, and desires. The feeling brain is quick with responses, but it's inaccurate and kind of dramatic. The thinking brain. It's the logical part of you. The function is to do all the hard work and to plan. Thinking brain is slow and can be exerted, but it's accurate. Next slide, please. How in control do you guys feel in terms of
There's a poll up on the screen, just in case you might have stepped away.
Sorry, was that bugging out? Well, if there's the results, could you like post it?
Yeah, we have about 50% who've taken it so far. So just waiting for a few more people to take it.
Dang, that's crazy. Yeah. Well, now you see the results, you guys. Next slide, please. Control. In this topic, we will learn more about how we think, how we subconsciously think. We must learn why we aren't successful to be successful. We must learn this to have purpose to fuel our actions, actions that lead to stress-free success narratives. Next slide, please. Let's talk about productivity first. Why is being productive so hard? What can help us be more productive? This will be answered in the next couple of slides. Next slide. The reason why people can't be productive and can't stick to doing a hard task consistently is because they let themselves slack off and take undeserved breaks. And because they let themselves
Flavio, you froze for me. I'm wondering if maybe turning your camera off might help with the connectivity.
next slide, please.
Flavio, I think we need you to repeat what you said because you froze for me. I didn't get most of what you said there.
Oh, this slide right here.
Yeah.
The reason why people can't be productive and can't stick to doing a hard task consistently is because they let themselves slack off and take undeserved breaks. And because they let themselves slack off, the option to slack off becomes available in the future. This drives people into letting themselves go and take breaks more and more often, leading to unhealthy habits and feeding.
Flavio, you're cutting in and out, and I wonder if turning your camera off might help the connectivity because I keep losing you.
But that's all right. Should I just turn off my camera? I feel like that may be a problem.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay, so did you guys get that slide or should I repeat it one more time?
I heard up until feeding.
Well, feeding the procrastination within you. All right. Well, next slide. Has there been a time where you've seen a motivational video, heard a certain song, or just got inspired by something that completely changed your day for a productive one? Then the next day, you went back to being unproductive. You probably said yes. And the reason why this happened is because whatever you heard or saw inspired you through your emotions to take action and be productive. I call this emotional fuel. Emotions play a big part in our lives, and it can be all the difference between being happy and
We lost you again, Flavio.
okay. I'll re-say it again. Well, I hello.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. You probably said yes, and the reason why this happened is because whatever you heard or saw inspired you through your emotions to take action and be productive. I call this emotional fuel. And emotions play a big part in our lives and can be all the difference between being happy and productive or stalling out and procrastinating. Next slide. um, or one more slide again. There are many methods or ways to stimulate your emotions in a way that drives you into action and helps motivate you to consistently do something hard. And although you guys have some ways to keep you going, I have some that worked well for me. Dopamine. Getting enough sleep, exercising, listening to music, meditating, spending time in the sun, or just interacting with others is proven to keep you happy and motivated. Honestly, just living a healthy lifestyle keeps you happy and inspired to continue pushing. Inspiration. Watching or hearing anything that motivates you. It can be anything from watching or a motivational video, listening to meaningful music, or by focusing on your present. This is more personal and it can be anything. Inspiration only lasts for a short while because it affects your emotions, and emotions don't last, but they do drive you harder than anything else. Nostalgia. Listening to old music, watching old videos or shows, or just by smells have proved to boost my emotions into action. This may seem inaccurate, but when thinking about your past, you reflect on your present, and this inflicts power into you because you wonder, what have I done since then? Every time I reflect from past to present, I'm never satisfied with myself. And again, I motivate myself to do something I would be proud of. This is my fuel. Revisions. Focus on your future and seeing your goals achieved is essentially gas for you. Makes you feel like you can obtain the goal. And once you feel like you can obtain your goal, everything seems doable. Next. Sorry, that was a bit long. Procrastination. Because of mundane tasks, we tend to procrastinate thinking that we deserve it or believe it can be done another time. We get behind and slack off, feeding unhealthy habits, which in turn bite us back. To avoid this nuisance, we must plan it in a way that satisfies our priorities, our pleasure, aka your feeling brain, and our health. Next slide, please. Mind of a master procrastinator. I would like it if you paid attention to this video because I feel like everyone can resonate with this story as I have.
Ready to go, but then actually the paper would come along, and then I would kind of do this. And that would happen every single paper. But then came my 90-page senior thesis, a paper you're supposed to spend a year on. I knew for a paper like that, my normal workflow was not an option. It was way too big a project. So I planned things out, and I decided it kind of had to go something like this. This is how the year would go. So I'd start off light, and I'd bump it up in the middle months. And then at the end, I would kick it up into high gear. It's just like a little staircase. How hard can it be? Just walk up the stairs. No big deal, right? But then funniest thing happened. Those first few months, they came and went, and I couldn't quite do stuff. So we had an awesome new revised plan. And then those middle months actually went by, and I didn't really write words. And so we were here. And then 2 months turned into 1 month, which turned into 2 weeks. And one day I woke up with 3 days until the deadline, still not having written a word, And so I did the only thing I could. I wrote 90 pages over 72 hours, pulling not one, but 2 all-nighters. Humans are not supposed to pull 2 all-nighters. Sprinted across campus, dove in slow motion, and got it in just at the deadline. I thought that was the end of everything. But a week later, I get a call. And it's the school. And they say, is this Tim Urban? And I say, yeah. And they say, we need to talk about your thesis. And I say, okay. And they say, it's the best one we've ever seen. That did not happen. It's a very, very bad thesis. I just wanted to enjoy that one moment when all of you thought, this guy is amazing. No, it was very, very bad. Anyway, today I'm a writer, blogger guy. I write the blog Wait, But Why? And a couple of years ago, I decided to write about procrastination. My behavior has always perplexed the non-procrastinators around me, and I wanted to explain to the non-procrastinators of the world what goes on in the heads of procrastinators and why we are the way we are. Now, I had a hypothesis that the brains of procrastinators were actually different than the brains of other people. And to test this, I found an MRI lab that actually let me scan both my brain and the brain of a proven non-procrastinator. And so I could compare them. And I actually brought them here to show you today. And I want you to take a look carefully to see if you can notice a difference. And I know that if you're not a trained brain expert, it's not that obvious, but just take a look, okay? So here's the brain of a non-procrastinator. Now, here's my brain. There is a difference. Both brains have a rational decision maker in them, but the procrastinator's brain also has an instant gratification monkey. Now, what does this mean for the procrastinator? Well, it means everything's fine until this happens. So the rational decision maker will make the rational decision to do something productive, but the monkey doesn't like that plan. So he actually takes the wheel and he says, actually, let's read the entire Wikipedia page of the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding scandal, because I just remember that happened. Then we're going to go over to the fridge. We're going to see if there's anything new in there since 10 minutes ago. After that, we're going to go on a YouTube spiral that starts with videos of Richard Feynman talking about magnets and ends much, much later with us watching interviews with Justin Bieber's mom. All of that's going to take a while, so we're not going to really have room on the schedule for any work today. Sorry. Now, what is going on here? The instant gratification monkey does not seem like a guy you want behind the wheel. He lives entirely in the present moment. He has no memory of the past, no knowledge of the future, and he only cares about 2 things, easy and fun. Now, in the animal world, that works fine. If you're a dog and you spend your whole life doing nothing other than easy and fun things, you're a huge success. And to the monkey, humans are just another animal species. He has to keep well slept, well fed, and propagating into the next generation, which in tribal times might have worked okay. But if you haven't noticed, now we're not in tribal times. We're in an advanced civilization, and the monkey does not know what that is, which is why we have another guy in our brain, the rational decision maker, who gives us the ability to do things no other animal can do. We can visualize the future. We can see the big picture. We can make long-term plans. And he wants to take all of that into account. And he wants to just have us do whatever makes sense to be doing right now. Now, sometimes it makes sense to be doing things that are easy and fun, like when you're having dinner or going to bed or enjoying well-earned leisure time. That's why there's an overlap. Sometimes they agree. But other times, it makes much more sense to be doing things that are harder and less pleasant for the sake of the big picture, and that's when we have a conflict. And for the procrastinator, that conflict tends to end a certain way every time, leaving him spending a lot of time in this orange zone, an easy and fun place that's entirely out of the make sense circle. I call it the dark playground. Now, the dark playground is a place that all of you procrastinators out there know very well. It's where leisure activities happen at times when leisure activities are not supposed to be happening. The fun you have in the dark playground isn't actually fun because it's completely unearned and the air is filled with guilt, dread, anxiety, self-hatred, all those good procrastinator feelings. And the question is, in this situation with the monkey behind the wheel, how does the procrastinator ever get himself over here to this blue zone, a less pleasant place, but where really important things happen? Well, turns out that the procrastinator has a guardian angel, someone who's always looking down on him and watching over him in his darkest moments, someone called the panic monster. Now, the panic monster is dormant most of the time, but he suddenly wakes up anytime a deadline gets too close or there's danger of public embarrassment, a career disaster, or some other scary consequence. And importantly, he's the only thing that the monkey is terrified of. Now, he became very relevant in my life pretty recently because the people of TED reached out to me about 6 months ago and invited me to do a TED Talk.
Hello? Slides. It's important to learn about the connections between your thinking and feeling brain. In chat, there will be a link to a document that will help us.
Flavio, we lost you again.
Please. We should read through it.
I didn't get anything that you said on that slide. Could you see what you said again?
Yeah, it's important to learn about the connection between your thinking and feeling brain. In chat, there will be a link to a document that withholds a summary of the two minds and the classic assumption. Go ahead and take the time to read through it. It's a 5-minute read. Or if you would like, I can read it. This is where the link will come in.
I don't think that I got that link, Flavio. Can you share what you want them to look at? I don't have anything to share right now.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, let me grab the link right here. Okay, I'll put it in chat. Go ahead and take 5 minutes to read this if you guys would like. Timer starts now. And that is time. Sorry for the short time frame, but positive and negative distractions. When deciding to do, when deciding what to do with your little earned break time, what should you distract yourself with? Of course, you can choose anything, but if you want to stick to being productive, then you can't succumb yourself into binge watching for a show for 4 to 5 hours, or going into Instagram for 3 hours, or whatever you do. You must ask yourself a couple questions when, uh, sorry, when deciding on what to do during your interlude. Does this help me grow in any way? Do I learn anything? Does this make me happy? How long will this take? And will I be satisfied afterwards? Although I sometimes fall off and succumb into my Xbox, for example, thinking I filter what I succumb myself into. Sometimes I slip off and become what I go against, but for the most part, I've taught myself to invest my time into something that helps me grow. When it gets difficult to do so, I nudge myself into doing something productive, like compromising with my wants. Here's an example. When I play games, I do workouts in between losses. I choose not to do it, then I do double the workout later. I like this compromise because my feeling brain and my thinking brain are both satisfied. In other words, I'm doing something pleasurable and I'm doing something productive. Next slide. Why is this important? Why do we go through all these topics right here? Well, we went over this because I battled with each one of these topics. I sought out answers for each one of these through podcasts, books, YouTube articles, and within myself. I think it's important to learn about these topics because we can think of ways to use this in our advantage. If we can incorporate some of what was learned today into our daily lives, we can overcome procrastination, have more control of ourselves, be a little more productive, and most of all, release some stress. Uh, Next slide. Oh, this wasn't a long slide. This is our self-assessment. From 1 to 5, how much do you
Have you cut out there, but I launched the poll on the screen. For those of you who can see it there, you can go ahead and take a second to take it, and hopefully Flavio's audio will come back.
Okay.
There we go. Got about 50% have taken it. I'm keeping an eye on it.
Okay. Dang, that was really surprising. All right, well, next slide. Well, many thanks for participating and listening to me ramble. I know this was very informative, but I learned this way. And I will pass it on to Helea now.
Thank you so much, Flavio and Zandra. Let's give it up for them and their presentations. We have some time for some questions from the audience also. And, you know, Zandra and Flavio, I know you shared some of your own photography at the beginning of each of your slides, but I wonder if you each maybe could talk a little bit about your own artistry and artistic journey for those of you who, for those of us who might not know you personally and your artistic sides as well. Flavio, that was for you. Do you want to talk a little bit about your artistry?
Oh, admired. Sorry, I think I had myself muted. Well, yeah, I did attend Ali last year, or not last year. I think it was this year actually. But I really enjoyed it because I learned a lot from Adam, and he taught us a lot about photography skills and how to share perspective through the lens of the camera. And honestly, I had a lot of fun and I created a lot of things, and I branched out in my artistic side, and we had this big presentation, and it really opened me up to new things, and I thought that was really cool. If that was what you meant. But
Yeah, do you want to tell people what Ali is? I don't think most people on this call know what that is. You're muted. Flavio, do you want to tell people what Ali is? Because I don't think that's an acronym most people know on the call. Flavio, my friend, you are muted. Can you unmute yourself?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Did you even hear the before the experience? You didn't hear the experience? Ah, well, what's the question again? Hello?
We can hear you. Can you tell everybody what Ali is?
Well, yeah, it's a youth program that helps, it like uplifts the youth and helps them branch out in artistic ways for a voice, right? I can pass it on to Sandra.
Oh, do you want me to talk about my experience with Ali?
Sure, or your other artistry. We heard, I think, yeah.
Oh, well, Ali was like a really fun program where we learned about like photography and storytelling through photography. I really enjoyed that. Like that was my first like virtual art showcase because, you know, like during quarantine you can't really meet up. So it was surprising to see like so many faces on Zoom for the first time. And I'm also like really into filmmaking. I kind of dabble in like digital art, even though I'm not like a super professional at it. I just like to doodle and color, make colorful things. And as I was talking about, I made a recent film, and for this film, it was like super important to me because I actually started like what we did in our activity today, where we kind of start like with a brainstorm and we make a title. For this film, I started with the title. I thought of the title like 8 months ago, and a little thing that I've been doing is I've been like hinting at the title in other pieces of my work. So I just like hid the word reality in a bunch of my artworks. So that was like a really like a scavenger hunt in a way. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Are there any questions from the audience for Xandra or Flavio? I wonder if you all might be able to talk about how you plan to engage in play and wonder over the summer, which can oftentimes feel like a time off for students who follow an academic calendar. How do you all plan to engage in play and wonder and keep busy with your artistry this summer?
I don't know if you guys can hear me now, but well, what I was talking about, it was all a part of my master plan to make a schedule, you know. I learned a lot about myself through videos and informative things, and I'm trying to learn how to sum it all up so that this summer, instead of just being playful and just not being as productive as I used to be, I want to be productive now. I'm I'm attending this big showcase in Florida on August, and I have to train for it as well. You know, both get my body in shape and my voice to act. And I think that this summer I'm gonna really be productive, and all that was said here, I incorporate into my daily life, and I have a schedule now. It's really cool.
Flavio, what's the showcase that you're going to be acting in, I think?
Well, I'm doing improv. I'm doing field scene, a little bit of modeling there, you know, and it's really cool because like there's gonna be a lot of people over there and a lot of agents and directors and all that, and I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, it's gonna be me acting, improvising with other people. It's really cool.
Sandra, how do you plan on re-engaging with Play and Wonder this summer? I know you're going to be on your first film set. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to talk about set. I'm really hoping to like help out because I'm like going to be fully vaccinated, of course, and it'll be like my first time really going out and getting to engage with other people. Because like playing Wonder, it's about like community. I feel like, so I'm really excited to hopefully like make the production like a safe and spacious like community.
Tony's got a question in the chat here, wondering how each of you see Play and Wonder as being helpful in your personal and or artistic lives. Tony, did you see that from Flavio in the chat? Okay.
I was just wondering how you feel they are important or helpful to you. In part, for Flavio, I heard you talk a lot about trying to figure out a sense of being productive. And sometimes in my own brain, I can hear productive almost as opposite to play, and sometimes I can hear them together. So I wondered how it is for you.
Obviously, being productive also like connects with you being happy. You know, you're just productive and stuff because there was some research done on that actually. I don't know if you guys want to hear it or not, but basically they looked into two people. One person who was all about emotions and being happy, aka feeling brain. I'm not sure if you still know what that means. And there was another part where it was more thinking brain. And this happened through like some causes, like for the feeling brain, it's like this lobotomy they did a long time ago or something that they used to do on patients that were super depressed and stuff. And they got rid of their thinking brain in a sense, you know, and they turned into like happy zombies. And they looked into that, and also they looked into not not just having your thinking brain as well, because then you don't care about anything. You don't have purpose in a way. And yeah, I feel like that kind of connects to play and being productive, because you also have to like pleasure yourself and be productive at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense or anything, but it was just a lot of research I went into through the book that I showed earlier.
Sandra, what about you?
Well, I try like to keep like playing Wonder in my life by making it like a little more fun because it's hard to focus like Flavio talking about like being happy, like your feelings, right? It's hard to focus when you can't really like engage, you know? And Bobby talked about like his struggle with ADHD, and I have like the same thing. I have ADHD too. So it's like it takes like a really good grip to get me focused sometimes. So I really need to stay engaged on topic.
I'm wondering, as students, how you have seen teachers or teaching artists spark play and wonder for you all, since everyone on the call today is a teaching artist and works with young people. We always are looking for new tricks. what has worked for you all, I think, particularly in this year where we have spent so much of our time learning through computers?
Honestly, to learn as a student and stuff, I think having all like the materials and the blueprint for success already made for you by the teaching artists is just like a great way, because then you can pace yourself on your own way, you know, because you learn more about yourself, you know. And feel like at the start of all online learning, everyone was kind of like procrastinating at first, you know, because they didn't really have the balance between being productive and being non-productive, you know. I feel like just having the teachers have like all the materials and perhaps the slides in this case, having it all made for the students would be really good. I thought that was really good that teachers did.
Sandra, what about you?
I guess like telling us like why you're teaching what you're teaching. I find it easier to like have personal connection to the teacher. Like my driver's ed teacher, she talked a lot about like why she is a driver's ed teacher, like why she wanted to do this and the importance of safety, and it made me like be able to understand the topic better, to see like the significance it held to her.
Flavia, we've got a question in the chat about what inspired you to make a 360.
Like, you mean switching my life up, or is that what you mean? 180. Is this like just flipping my life around, or is that?
Hi, yeah, I asked a question. So kind of again, like switching, because you said at first, you weren't maybe a little bit into kind of the beliefs that you've said, and then you kind of made that 180 and then kind of was like, okay, here's how I can control, be productive, etc. Like what got you to like change?
Honestly, I feel like all the stress and all the responsibilities of growing up finally caught up to me and made me realize that I can't keep playing all the time, you know. Life life is hard, you know, and or not hard, but you got to do stuff, you know. You can't just be lazy and blame everything on other people, you know. And ever since then, I like I went on a journey to learn more about myself, subconsciously and consciously, you know, if that makes any sense. And I really just kept pulling things from different places, you know, learning more about how my mind works. Because back then I didn't do any school stuff. I didn't care about anything, you know. I just cared about having fun, as you said. And yeah, I think it was just a realization of me having to grow up and be productive.
And Sandra, you had a question here too from Andre about what meaningful representation means to you and how you'll enforce that in your own work.
Meaningful representation is like getting to work with people and like their authentic stories, because sorry, I felt like underrepresented or like represented inaccurately because a bunch of writers like there's like a bunch of like white writers on a show starring like an Asian American. It's like it's not authentic representation because you can't really speak on that story. You don't really have that the same experience a team full of like Asian Americans would have. So like when I make films and like when I direct my own film and like have a bunch of people on set, I hope to have people that can like relate to the story, people that can really speak on the story and share like parts of their own life through the production.
Any other questions for Xandra or Flavio? Flavio's talking in the chat about some of the examples of his older siblings making wrong choices that inspired him. I can relate to that as a younger sibling. Putting hard work in and planning ahead. I think teaching artists like to do that. And then often you throw your whole plan out the window. As most of us know from teaching in general and certainly teaching online this past year. Well, Flavio and Xandra, congratulations on finishing perhaps the strangest school year ever. And I'm excited for your projects this summer with your showcase, Flavio, and with your first on-set experience, Xandra. Thanks so much for taking your time to do this in the first week of your summer vacation, to spend time with Teaching Artists Guild and all of us here. We recorded this presentation today and it will be available on our YouTube channel and be emailed out to all of the participants soon, probably within a week. Yes, New York is still in school, but we're out here in the Pacific Northwest. We got out last week. Keep your eyes peeled for a new and fantastic Teaching Artists Guild website that is going to be launched relatively soon. Has all of the best parts of what was Association of Teaching Artists and what was Teaching Artists Guild and is now the new Unified Teaching Artists Guild, coming to your inboxes soon. We'll make an announcement about that. As always, you can reach us on our social media and on our website and on our emails. Thanks so much for joining us today. And we will see you next year for our next professional development series, because this is the last one. Have a very happy summer, everybody.
Thank you.
Hi, Nancy. Yeah, do you have a question or just waving?
Oh, yeah.